Welcome back. This is News at Prime on Newzroom Afrika. We're continuing with our focus on the transport situation in the Western Cape, but specifically around Cape Town, where Golden Arrow bus services has now confirmed that 3 more of its buses were torched in Cape Town today. For more on the situation tonight, let's speak to Golden Arrow spokesperson Bronwen Dyke-Beyer. A very good evening to you, Bronwen. Thank you for your time. So, 3 of your buses set on fire this morning. Is your entire fleet able to move around without hindrance tonight?
Unfortunately, I have to update that it's 4 buses that were set alight this morning. Things have become very, very difficult today. I'm sure you've heard that things have been volatile, all kinds of flare-ups of unrest and vandalism. So it's very, very difficult for us to operate. We are now having to operate a limited service this evening, which we are very, obviously, with deep regret, we're having to do that. But it is becoming very, very difficult for us to operate. And unfortunately, obviously, our drivers, some of them don't want to come into work, and others we just can't get to. We have staff transport our own buses, which collect our drivers, and we just can't get to them. So it's very, very difficult here in Cape Town.
When you say services are limited tonight, how limited is limited?
We're probably running at about 50%, maybe slightly less, so it's fairly limited. Obviously, we would like to run at 100% capacity, but we just don't have that option. So we will run services for as long as we can with the manpower available to us, but we will ask passengers to please, if they are able to possibly seek alternative transport. Otherwise, we will do our best to get to everybody.
Is it mainly an issue of manpower or safety and security considerations that have you now basically operating at half your usual capacity?
It's really a mixture of both. So as I said, some of our drivers don't want to come in, and we won't make them. Others can't get to us. And then there's just the fact that so many areas are out of bounds. We've had to move so many of our operations to the outskirts. This morning, for example, we couldn't get out of Mitchell's Plain Terminus because there were concerns about safety. Then when we were actually able to get out, most of the roads that we need to use to travel from Mitchell's Plain were closed. So it's so challenging to run a service, trying our best, but, all of the kind of circumstances are acting against us at this point.
What is the cost, Bronwen, of the damage so far? I mean, 4 more buses set on fire today. There were a few also attacked last week, and the cost already then had run into the millions, I think close to 10 million by the weekend. Where are we now?
So to replace a new bus, it costs about 2.6 million. But what I'd really like us to focus on is the social cost. We can replace assets. Obviously, it's very expensive. Insurance doesn't cover it. There are cost implications. But I think the social aspect of the strike has been the most devastating. We've got people who haven't been able to get to work, people who may lose their jobs, people who can't go to school, missing hospital appointments, having to walk for kilometers. We've heard of children who had to walk more than 30 kilometers to get home. These are absolutely devastating and tragic stories, and I think that's really the cost that we're having to count as a community here in Cape Town.
With that in mind, then, how much protection is there for the community that relies on the Golden Arrow service and indeed your drivers and the fleet? Because there are people who, unfortunately, still have to get to work, still have to get to school, make their appointments in town, for instance.
That's correct. So obviously from the beginning, we've been working very, very closely with law enforcement, SAPS, and through our own MEC, who we are contracted to the Provincial Department of Mobility. Unfortunately, we have 1,100 buses, and we operate all over the metropole. So very, very difficult. We have been provided with assistance in hotspots, but I think as we've seen today, where you least expected, flare-ups can occur. So very, very trying times. Definitely not business as usual for us, but we are trying our best. We're working as closely with the authorities as we can. We're just trying to move passengers, but we're not a security company. We're a transport company. We can run bus services, but the rest we really can't do.
Do you think you'll be able to operate safely until Wednesday? And I say Wednesday because that's when we're at least expecting that there'll be a return of full taxi services.
So this evening we have actually gone back to the court to seek relief in terms of asking. We received a court order yesterday. We've asked them to please, for Santaco to please prove that they have taken all reasonable steps to ensure that their affiliates are aware of the fact that they shouldn't interfere with our services and that they've been ordered to do so. And then also to reveal to us the names of any of their associates who were arrested for this morning's attacks on our buses. So we are taking that stance at the moment, but, very difficult to know what's going to happen tomorrow. We expected after the interdict was served yesterday that things would be more peaceful, but then as soon as taxis started blockading the N2, 2 of our buses were set alight. So it's very difficult to know what kind of services we are going to offer. Obviously, we have to be responsive as things happen. If we can't go into areas, we simply can't go there. So I think it's going to be very difficult for Cape Town's commuters tomorrow. Very limited services, but we're going to keep everybody as updated as we can. But I think bosses need to know that it's not business as usual, unfortunately.
I don't know if you've seen it, but Sintako in the Western Cape has since issued a statement late this afternoon saying it's an urgent call on members for a peaceful stay away. I'm looking at the issue of the court order, and I wonder how enforceable that is, and this call for a peaceful stay away can actually be when you consider just the size of the taxi industry and the number of people who are either operators or drivers. Would any court action actually make sure that safety is guaranteed?
I think that's a very good question. We have to try everything that's available to us. What you see in the statement in terms of calling on affiliates was supposed to be released yesterday as per the court order by 4 o'clock. And as it wasn't, that's why we went back this evening, and you would have seen it being released this afternoon. So we are trying everything, any legal recourse, any avenue, anything that we can. Whether or not that's going to be effective, unfortunately, we can't say, but we can only try our best.
Bronwen Dyke-Beyer, spokesperson for the bus company Golden Arrow in the Western Cape. Good to speak to you tonight.